Who is responsible for preventing gender-based violence during student events? There are several answers to this question. With regards to moral responsibility, who should be held accountable? All students are accountable for their own behavior and must ensure they do not hurt or harm others or create an intimidating, hostile or offensive situation. However, this level of individual responsibility is not enough. Student groups or organizations who plan events also share responsibility. To reduce the risk of violence or harm occurring, they can implement policies like making sure all communication around the event is free from sexist clichés, designating students as clearly visible welfare monitors at events, setting up safe zones where attendees can feel comfortable and free from harassment, managing how alcohol or other substances are dispensed. The institution also has a responsibility. They should assist student organizations who plan all types of events and advise on best practices. The institution can also check that the student society has taken sufficient security and safety measures, provide training for members of societies, promote a zero-tolerance policy for harassment and violence. If an event takes place on campus, the institution must be particularly vigilant about making sure all preventive and health safety measures are respected and should be prepared to cancel the event if the rules are not respected. As we have seen, responsibility is shared by all parties. In practice, when an event is organized in close partnership between the institution and the student societies, and when there is an open conversation about individual and collective responsibilities, the risk of violence or dangerous situations decreases significantly. The second aspect is criminal responsibility. That is to say, who can be held accountable under the law if a report is filed with the police, for instance, following a sexual assault. The law says that each individual is only accountable for their own actions. However, the law of July 10, 2000 introduced a distinction between the direct perpetrator of a crime, here the aggressor, and the indirect perpetrator. The board or management committee of an institution, as well as elected officials within a student organization, can be held liable as indirect perpetrators if they have created or helped to create a situation causing harm, or if they have not taken sufficient measures to avoid that harm. According to Article 121(3) of the Penal Code, the indirect perpetrator can be held criminally responsible if they are guilty of one of the following. 1. Reckless endangerment, meaning that a person or a group were aware of a legal or statutory obligation to implement safety measures and deliberately chose not to do so. An example of this would be a student event with unlimited free drinks, like an open bar, or where alcohol continued to be served to attendees who were already intoxicated, which could have seen to have contributed in some way to a sexual assault. Second, gross negligence, meaning that the person or the group knowingly placed someone at serious risk or harm. This type of negligence can be upheld even if it was not intentional and did not come under any existing rules or regulations. An example of this would be a student organization who did not implement safety measures regarding a student whose attitude or behavior was visibly hostile and threatening before any violence actually took place. Legal precedent shows that gross negligence is more commonly recognized by the courts than reckless endangerment. Student organizations must assess risks prior to events, take preventive measures throughout, and take stock in the days and weeks that follow.